Hello wrestling fans, I'm Tom Colahue and today I'm going to be talking about politics in wrestling. Please do not automatically switch off when I say that it is going to be mostly wrestling themed. I'm going to be talking about Jaxson Ryker's recent tweet as well as something from Tony Khan at AEW, so please stay tuned as I examine those. One thing I will say before we started, please do hit the like button. My record so far on any video is 27, so if we can break that, that will do wonders for me in the growth of this channel and more videos more often. Now, there's always been people who play politics in wrestling. I'll definitely be referring to a politician in chief a bit later on, but that's not entirely what I'm talking about today. It does connect to it though, because it is key to certain people who would leverage decisions backstage, and that's essentially the essence of politics, trying to leverage decision making in order to make things better as you see fit, because obviously politics is very personal. So this video will cover a lot of people's personal views, and I don't want to judge anyone for those views because I don't feel personal views should be judged. However, there is a way and a time to express that personal opinion in a way that is effective, is timely, and doesn't offend. There's a lot going on right now, and the Black Lives Matter protests are an essential part of trying to create a better and more united America, and hopefully a better and more united world. Protest is vital for when people reach that point where they are simply not being listened to. We have achieved so much through protest. Peaceful largely. Unfortunately, there are times when they go beyond peaceful, and if you're not heard continually, it is important to try and get people to take notice. If you listen, if people are willing to listen, we hopefully never reach this stage. How we're responding to these things tells others a lot more about us as individuals. Chris Jericho had the moment where he said all lives matter and respond to Black Lives Matter. And this is something that comes straight from the idea of not all men, and yeah, but where are you really from? That said, he's far from the only person to stand by his own beliefs here. Jaxson Ryker put his tweet out during Monday Night's Raw, and this is a tweet that I'm going to read verbatim and pop up somewhere around me just so we all know what I'm talking about. He tweeted, "Thankful for the POTUS we have. God bless America, built of freedom, forgotten no more." Forgotten no more is obviously the catchphrase of the Forgotten Sons, the tag team trio that he is a part of. This drew some negative response from many of his colleagues, particularly and probably most notably Kevin Owens. This is something that's happened before, where more veteran wrestlers will speak up and speak out. Enzo Amore being kicked off a Raw bus by Roman Reigns was something that happened personally and less publicly, but it was something where someone took a leadership role. Another example of this is Bray Wyatt talking to Lio Rush and essentially saying you've got a lot to learn after Lio Rush made a joke about Emma's release. What I will say is Lio Rush learned from that, and during the time when people were being released, Lio Rush being one of them, he did show some real leadership in what he was saying before his release was announced, which was essentially saying we are all in this together. Very different from what he said about Emma back then, and proof that people can learn and grow. There's also times when backstage political talk has caused issues in storylines. Probably the most notorious recent example of this is Big Cass and his feud with Daniel Bryan. Big Cass was a notable Donald Trump supporter, quite vocal about it, and he was feuding at the time with Daniel Bryan, probably the most liberal wrestler in the world. Daniel Bryan also won not to hold his tongue. If you think back to Talking Smack, the wonder that was, that's something I still miss every day. There were times when he would mock the current administration, and the very next week he had to publicly say he will not be doing that again because he was pulled into the office and told to stop. These elements made the Big Cass and Daniel Bryan feud quite tense, until of course Big Cass was unfortunately released for a number of things that happened. It wasn't just political by any stretch, but that was a part of it. The problem is that the WWE, as a social and commercial entity, really struggles to keep politics out of it. The current president, Donald Trump, is of course in the celebrity wing of the WWE Hall of Fame. 2 WrestleManias have taken place at Trump Plaza, and the WWE really made its allegiances known by the fact that it had Donald Trump in the Battle of the Billionaires and the like, and supports him even now, but made mockery of President Obama during his administration. Linda McMahon, wife of Vince of course, was installed in Trump's government quite early on to work with small business. Pictures of the McMahons and the president are everywhere. There is clearly a very strong connection there. It is impossible to be apolitical when you are literally part of a political government. For all the philanthropy that has happened in the last few years, and Stephanie McMahon very openly referred to it as marketing when she referred to all the philanthropic activities that they've been doing recently. That's a difficult word to come out with. The WWE have been very publicly capitalist for a very long time. They are very open about this. Vince McMahon is there to make money. Additionally, there is a whole Hulk Hogan thing, which is less based around a political party, but it's still a political choice. And this from essentially the politic player in chief backstage through his entire tenure of WWF and then WCW. Not so much WWE, thankfully, but it may still be a thing. Electing to return Hulk Hogan to the fold back during that initial WWE Saudi Arabia show and only demanding an apology in front of the talent sent a very clear message to any black WWE employees, and in fact any WWE employees who may be an ally to the cause in that regard. And I want to be clear, I'm not talking just wrestlers, I'm talking all WWE employees. I reported at the time that I was personally aware of multiple black wrestlers who did not forgive Hulk Hogan. It is up to the person who is being apologised to determine whether they have done enough. And I personally feel that Hulk Hogan could have done a lot more, particularly as regards charity foundations and the like, to support and react to his own misgivings and misdemeanors and everything he said in a racially charged speech that offended a lot of people, and again, not just black people, offended a lot of people who believe in equality. The WWE were happy to welcome him back, and he has appeared several times since. A lot of this information is freely available, and I do hope people take the time to look it up. One of my main sources originally, when I was originally trying to find out this information about Hulk Hogan, was a YouTube video I had watched several months previous, where a wrestler made his opinion on Hulk Hogan very, very clear, and I was able to follow that up because I had that information available. The information is out there if you'd like to check it out. Speaking of Hulk Hogan, of course, All Elite Wrestling's Tony Khan made a very public tweet stating that Linda Hogan, the partner of Hulk Hogan, and Hulk himself would not be permitted to attend AEW shows. A large part of this, of course, was down to the racially charged speech initially and racially charged comments made by Linda Hogan. While being anti-racist isn't a political position per se, AEW have been very clear that they do have a political side that they stay on. A lot of the things they pushed for back in January 2019, equal pay, healthcare for everyone, those are generally considered democratic concepts and democratic campaign values, and these sort of things did raise a lot of public attention, particularly from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of the Democrat Party. This set them apart from the WWE significantly, and I believe it's one of the key reasons that a much younger demographic goes to AEW and an older demographic goes to the WWE. There are clear political divides for age. In addition, you could see, for example, a younger audience will watch CNN, while an older audience will tend to watch Fox News. Ultimately, there are a lot of people, both in the WWE and the AEW, and all of those people have their own political views, and they are free to express them however they may fall. However, freedom of speech does not mean freedom of consequences, and people are entitled to speak back. If we are all capable of having that open debate and being willing to learn and have an open mind, then all views do then become valuable, because it is important to learn from the other perspective, not just so that you can say why you believe that perspective is wrong, but also so that you can hopefully convince someone who does have that opinion to have that open mind and to listen to reason a little bit more. This is one of the reasons you're seeing so much educational content and information out there as regards the Black Lives Matter protest, because the fact is Black Lives do matter and people do need to educate themselves further on it. Now, I've seen a lot of people say that they don't want anything political in their Twitter timelines and the like, and a lot of people who will respond and engage with tweets in order to say shut up and get back to wrestling. And I'm sure this video may garner some of that attention, or at least it would if I had a wider audience. At the moment I have quite a refined and positive audience, and long may that continue, but I'm sure this sort of video would attract negative attention if I had a wider audience and was essentially more popular. Unfortunately, what I would say to those people is that politics is vital to life. When you say you don't want anything to do with politics, you don't want to hear anything about politics, and even worse, when you don't want to vote, what you are saying is you don't care what happens to your fellows, you don't care what happens to yourself, because it is politics that decide everything that happens in your life. One of the reasons so many wrestlers are speaking up right now is because this is vital to their lives and to the lives of people they care about, and it is probably vital to yours as well, even just as an individual who may not even be affected by this. The future is a long place, and a lot may change in that time. Wrestling is an escape, but unfortunately there are some things more important than that escape. You've got to let people be people and talk as they wish. So maybe there is, after all, room in wrestling for politics. If something's not for you, let it pass you by. If there's a political angle and it doesn't align with how you like it, just ignore it. Much like the dog food segments and things like that I didn't enjoy, and I just let them pass by, because quite often a lot of the more childish elements, they're there for children instead of being for me. Wrestling tries to cater to everyone at once, and it's extremely difficult to do that, and it's extremely difficult to be both Democrat and Republican at the same time, because I don't think that's literally possible. But we are where we are, and everyone is entitled to their own views. Worry less. I'm Tom Colahue, and thank you very much for watching.